What is going on, YouTube? This is The Last Musketeer, and welcome to part 8 of the Arknights free-to-play progression series. So starting this video out, I had just completed TW5, and the only reason I'm showing you this is because I'm getting a new medic operator in Folinik, and realistically, I do like the way this operator is set up. For the most part, most of the charity units I don't actually use, other than Tequila, because Tequila is one of my boss killers, and he does a fantastic job. But I do like the way that Folinik is set up, because on her S2, she turns from a regular medic to a harm assist. And I love the harm assist class, but I do not have enough to actually form a decent squad with that. So maybe adding this one will be a nice touch to something I can change up in the future here. But going into big upgrades, we've got Thorns to Master Rank 3 on his Skill 3. That is a massive one. It's going to help a ton, though I am trying to shy away from using Thorns as much, but we are putting into the Skill 1 the first mastery point for Blue Poison, and she has been a staple of my squad since basically the beginning. She's been one of the first snipers I ever got, and I have loved her since. So it is good to finally give her the recognition she deserves, because in the last video I did take her to E2 as my first E2 sniper. It felt pretty good, so getting her to that extra little bit of damage is going to be nice, but I'm going to try to take her up as much as I can in the next little bit, and hopefully get her to her module, if she has one. I can't actually remember which ones do and which ones don't, but we are doing some challenge modes in the GT event, and mainly it's because I'm trying to finish this one off. I only have 3 more, and that will finish the full record restoration, and I can get the nice little profile picture to add to my collection. But I'm trying to get as many of these done and trying to finish these side events as much as I possibly can, because Texas Altar is not that long away now, and I really want to get as much OP as I can before then, so I can kind of not guarantee the operator. Obviously, I'm not going to get to that point. 300 pulls is insane, but the more chances I have to pull, the better my odds, obviously, so I'm going to do as much as I can to try to get to that point. But the thing I do love about this event in particular is that even though it doesn't have anything fancy like a deployable object, it does have defense down tiles. So all these melee tiles that you see that look cracked, that look like they have some type of moisture coming down from the sky, these are defense down, and anything on that tile is going to get absolutely shredded. Whether it's a dog, whether it's just your regular infantryman, they are going to get absolutely shredded by whatever enemy comes through. So you have to be very careful, and you have to make sure you have enough sustainability and enough damage that your line doesn't just completely fall apart. And so that's one thing I do love about these kind of styles. And also, Altar is, once again, my hero when it comes to the guys that cannot be blocked. I always forget their names because that's how much I hate them. I don't even give them the option of learning their name. But these guys are absolutely countered by Altar S2 because she stops. It's basically a mini stun every time she does it. They can't go anywhere. They're not allowed to really even move. And as you can see, Mudrock got absolutely shredded by Big Adam there. Nothing better than a highly damaging boss on a defense down tile. But we do get him out of the way. Swire tanks a couple of shots for me to negate Thorns taking any damage, though it wouldn't have necessarily mattered at the point. He was very low. But we also hit a massive milestone. So before we do the third part of the challenge, to finish this one off, I'm going to go ahead and go to the shop and grab that juicy enhancement pack. So the free ones are always great. This one including 2 headhunting permits, which I am very excited to see. But also the one that you buy with the OP always has a really good stack. So the 100k LMD is going to be very crucial for one of the upgrades I'm going to be making in the future. And, well, quite a few of them actually, because there's a lot that I actually upgraded in this video. So I'm excited to show them off, excited to show you just what I was capable of getting. But this third one, I've always loved the stage. When I did it originally, it was very fun to do. It's very straightforward. You just kind of put the roadblocks on the first 2 to make them all go to this one hole, and now you can make it a little bit more of a wraparound if you put more up there and just kind of make them all walk in that straight line as further distance as you can. That way you can buy as much time as possible. But either way you do it, it's really not that hard. I do love this stage. stage though. So having Thorns in this lane, he basically holds it. I have Swire at the back. She's going to do a lot more damage when she's not blocking, so that's going to help a lot. Mudrock, of course, doing work, and on this one, luckily, the ground tiles are not the ones with the defense down, it's just the range tiles. So as long as I deploy my defenders last, I should have no problem keeping anybody like Amia or Blue Poison alive for this. So Saria being the last drop, she's going to have to do quite a bit of tanking. I don't have great options right now for dealing with some of the heavy units. I do have some decent casters, but Amia is my only one that is currently E2, so I do plan on changing that here in the near future, maybe in this next week. I tried to decide whether or not I wanted to E2 Mustima. I was kind of talked out of it because I didn't realize her module to get the full upgrade is like 300k or more, which is absolutely insane. So it's not only just dumping about 400 something K to get her to E2, I also have to have another about 400k to get her to the point where she is super useful with that slow. So gonna take a little bit of time before she actually gets that, but I am looking forward to that upgrade because she was my second ever 6-star and she's been neglected for so long, and I feel bad for her. So, you know, maybe here in the near future, if I can manage to get that much LMD back, they will do that. But this is one of my first big upgrades because I actually got to use Cutter as a temporary recruit in IS2, and I fell in love with her immediately. I didn't realize just how much damage she was capable of outputting. This is an insane 4-star operator. I would highly recommend anyone that needs some burst damage or needs someone that is pretty decent at holding a lane. Of course, you might need to give her a little bit of backup because she has 2 block, but you have to build up the skill with like 14 hits, I believe, so it takes a little bit of time to get it off, but she does a ton of damage and she's very good for helping clear some waves. So she was one of mine that I just really wanted to get up, so I went ahead and straight up E2'd her straight from level 1. But as you can see here, we're going into the second mastery of Blue Poison skill 1, and so it started at I think 145 or 155% damage, ends at mastery 3 at 200%. That is an insane amount of damage on a very fast use skill. But as you can see here, the E2 on Cutter, very pretty art. I do love the fox in the background. I always love to see the animals from the E2s, so it's one of those things that I just really look forward to every time leveling them up. It's not just about the damage they do or the upgrades they get. The art is something that I love to see as well, because the artists of this game are fantastic. And there is nothing that I would love more than to see a Swire altar, so I'm going to go ahead and plug that in there. You know what to do. If you see this, know that I am begging. Anything I can do to get a Swire altar, I would be very happy, or at least some more skins, because I do like the ones I have, but I want more. I'm greedy like that. It is how it is, but I get Mastery 3 on Blue Poison's Skill 1, so now, after testing it, I absolutely love how much damage she does. I highly recommend trying her out if you're looking for a good, cheaper alternative to someone like Exia, because I am one that has not been that lucky when it comes to snipers. I do have some fantastic alternatives, but I haven't quite got lucky enough to get a 6-star sniper, so I'm looking forward to my first one. I wouldn't mind, obviously, getting Posey or Exia, but in the meantime, I'm content with what I have. But we're getting Padinko a little bit leveled up because she is one that I asked the Discord whether or not I should actually go for, because it was between her and someone else, and I don't exactly remember. I think it might have been Deep Color. But Padinko does have great options. The slow is fantastic. The little bit of extra damage is really good. And speaking of really good things, we've got Mastery 3 on Myrtle's Skill 1. This has been a long time coming, and honestly, I kind of forgot about it. I'm not gonna lie. So, she was gonna be zooming when it comes to DP printing, and I'm very happy for that. But obviously, here with a module for Cutter, I have everything I need except for trust. She does not trust me whatsoever, so I'm gonna have to build that up over the next week. Hopefully earn her trust so I can get her module, because it's really not going to be that hard to unlock. The other one that I have plenty of options for destroying drones with Cutter in maps, so we'll get to that point. But I am curious what everybody thinks about the charity operator from this current event. I think it is a really interesting character, and of course I'm always going to take a free one. You know, there's nothing better than getting free operators as a free-to-play, but I think in the future I may end up using this character because I like the way it's set up. I like the SP generating. I think it has some potential for some weird interactions, so I'm gonna have to try it out in the future. Maybe set it up with my newly christened cutter and see how much nuke I can put out. But we're going into the challenge stages of the current event, and I started at 3 because I didn't want to show the first 2. The first 2 are generally fairly easy, so I wanted to start with the third one and show you how I did all these. And I did this event a little differently. Normally I do it where I do all the regular stages and then I go back and do the challenge stages, but this time I decided, you know what, we're going to do it a little different. I'm going to go ahead and go into the regular stage and then immediately after do the challenge stages. I'm going to only show you the challenge portion of it, but I do like doing that system like that because it's a bit more challenging in that sense, where I'm fresh off the stage of completing it the first time, so I know exactly what changes with it. I think it's a better way of doing that setup. So one thing I will say though, when it comes to these, the Lancers are annoying, of course, but you know what a great option for them is? Gaviolter, her S2 being able to slow them down so she gets multiple hits. Now it doesn't stop their speed. Do know that they are still full speed, so even if she's dragging, the moment they touch her, she still gets one shot based on the speed that they had currently accumulated. So be careful when it comes to that. But we're going into the next one, and this one was a pain for me for a little bit until I decided exactly how I wanted to run it. Because the bullies are invincible, and in case you don't know which ones the bullies are, they are the ones with the 3 tattooed on their shoulders, the big guys that require 3 blocks. So what I decided to do was throw Gaviolter into that box, get rid of the 2 crusher guys with the sledgehammers, so that all I had to worry about coming through there was the 3 blockers. So that way I can throw Beagle in that hole and just have Beagle take out one of them, distract one of them. Obviously Beagle damage is not fantastic, so she's not going to take it out herself, but that will free up Saria and Mudrock to guarantee that I can actually have enough block to do this, because I do have good damage with Cutter. As you can see her in action here in all her E2 glory. She is doing quite a bit of damage, and I throw Amiya here for a little extra damage, though Amiya is going to take a bit, but I do have Perfumer there to help out and Saria in case she needs it. BP does a really good job of dealing enough damage to these guys, though I did almost lose one of the things that take away one of your life points if they get destroyed. So be careful if you are doing this mission on challenge mode and you're not watching that lane very carefully. They can destroy it fairly quickly, but with Beagle distracting that one, we were able to get it done. Before then, before I had employed the Beagle strat, it just wasn't possible for me to clear these squads fast enough to leave 2 open. So that was my way of beating it. But moving on to the next challenge stage, this one is actually the Hateful Avengers gain greatly increased attack, which sounds like a nightmare. In case you're wondering which ones the Hateful Avengers are, they are the weebs that run around with the swords. Once they get down to 50% health, they get greatly increased attack. So already they're insanely damaging with the challenge, but with the added bonus damage, they are a nightmare to deal with. Not to mention that you've got the snipers that stun on hit. Walking through, as you can see, Mud did get knocked out there, which is a problem if I'm not careful, but I do have options for dealing with that. Once again, Gaviolter MVP with the S2. Anytime I need to make sure that Mudrock doesn't go down, I can just activate that before he gets there and do a lot of damage to guarantee that Mudrock is going to survive. So Cutter does get knocked down on the bottom left lane, but I do have Cruz shooting the ghillie suit guy and helping out, and then Cutter gets back up, and once again we are able to get through this stage. So not too hard of one. You just have to be very, very careful with the order in which you put out your units so that you make sure the ones that are getting stunned are the ones that are not important for lane blocking. So moving on to this next one. This one is a bit of a pain. Really not too hard if you have the best options for this, but I didn't. So what I ended up having to do is borrow a support unit. I tried not to borrow as much as possible, but I didn't have a good chain caster, and nor did I have a good caster in general for this situation. So with the Series Biddies having extra health, the Series Biddies being the red and black ones over there that are sitting in the corner with the big guy that takes the aggro of your casters. What I did was planted Passenger on the left side, and as you can see, he is absolutely melting these guys. If I need to, I can just activate his ability, and that's going to decimate whatever's left, but I go ahead and use it here, just so I can get rid of that one a little bit faster. I was hoping to guarantee that it would go down so that I didn't have to worry about the Bites opening that hole and being able to run through, because that makes a nightmare for defending against, since they're going to be running straight across instead of from the bottom. But with Passenger there, having the option of doing that much damage and the chain casting, the two big guys that come from the top at the end here are not a problem. I can actually take them out with one use of the ability, and then the second one just to finish off the last bit of health. So Passenger is MVP there for sure. If you have a good chain caster, maybe the charity unit from the last one, I'm not sure how to say it, to be honest. I don't want to butcher it, but she could be a good option for it, though I have not tried her out in that. So, you know, if you're struggling with that one, do try to borrow a Passenger for it. It'll make it so much easier. But this one, the only difference in the challenge mode is that the slugs, the ones that freeze you, the spider looking ones, actually cannot be silenced. So if you're using some type of silence strat to get through this one, just know it is not going to work whatsoever for this one. But I will say, when I did it the first time, I didn't even use Lapland, I don't believe, so not necessary to actually do that. You just have to make sure that your top lane can stay alive and has enough block to deal with everything that's coming through, because you're going to get a lot of these guys that can't be blocked running through, and if you don't have enough damage or somebody's frozen during that time, because the spiders do go from bottom lane straight to top, you're gonna have a nightmare trying to complete it. So make sure you leave a strong top lane and a good enough middle lane that you can deal with all the weebs coming through, because they are a nightmare as well. You can see Lapland is in my squad here, but it's not necessarily for the silence. I just use it as an extra block in case I need it. I did, I think, the first time use her top lane just to help destroy the guys that are running through, the unblockables. That was the main reason for that. But like I said, there are plenty of options, plenty of ways you can deal with this, and the elite weave that is running through here is actually kind of scary. Top lane almost fell. If it hadn't been for Cantabile being as good as she is, it probably would have. But as you can see, Gaviel nearly goes down. Luckily, I got the heal off just in time, and she got it done. So before I did the challenge mode of the last stage of the event, I decided to go in and actually use my currency, so I unlocked the new charity operator. Still have not leveled it up, and probably will, maybe in this next week a little bit, just to get it at least E1, so I can try to use it out in IS2. I want to try to see what I can do if I pair Saga and that one together. I don't know exactly how it works, but it could be really cool. Maybe it has a weird interaction, maybe it doesn't work at all because they both have to be taking everything down to one hit, but we'll see if I can get both of them attacking the same unit from different angles. Maybe I can get it to put both of those things on and just overload someone with a lot of SP and extra stuff. So we'll see what happens, but the challenge mode for the final stage of the event is really not that bad. All it does is change the turret damage. The turret is going to do a little more damage than it did before, and at first I thought that meant it was going to do a ton and it was going to be really, really hard to complete the stage without having something blocking all of these turrets from the different angles. Turns out it really isn't that bad. It's basically the same as it was the first time. You might take slightly more damage, but not enough to actually mess up your run. So what I did is I borrowed Aya, and I decided to put her in the lane to the left of Perfumer, where Amia currently is, and then I just use her S3, nuke everything down that she's in range for, get rid of her immediately so I can deploy her a little bit later to clean up whatever is left, because the main thing is, as you can see from the bottom lane, I do get all of them done except for the one at the very top right. So that is what I need Aya for. I could also use her in this situation to help take out some of the drones, but I didn't do that because I didn't necessarily need to, as long as I had plenty of people to negate some of the damage so that I didn't lose Amia there, though she didn't really do much because it was at the end of her S2 cycle and shows she was stunned. Luckily Thorns and Cruz cleaned that up, but I put Aya at the bottom here just for the skill activation to make sure that I get that demolition guy down as soon as possible, and that is that stage done. But we are moving on to some of the campaign stages, and I do want to apologize beforehand because I said I was going to try to stream some of the JT8 stages. I didn't get a chance to. I streamed it in Discord, and I'm going to leave the link in the description if you want to do that, because I do stream in there from time to time, because I don't always have the most time to actually go live on YouTube. There's been a lot of things going on, and a lot of things that I've been having to work on, and I just haven't had the time. And yesterday, while I was going to try to do it, my internet was really, really bad. It kept crashing, it kept having problems trying to play games, log in. I couldn't figure out what was going on. So I was afraid I wasn't going to be able to stream it. But it eventually cleared up a little bit later in the day, and so I decided, you know what, it's too late to do that because I'm going to have to go do stuff in a couple hours. I don't want to do a really short stream, so I'll just stream in Discord. And I'm not going to go too far into talking about what I did for the stage, because I do have a video where I showed exactly how I completed it. I'm just showing it for those who might not have seen it. I did get through M88, and it was actually a really fun experience trying to figure this one out. It didn't take too terribly long, though it was a bit of an annoyance trying to balance out the damage that you take from the boss and the damage that you take from the enraged in the waves. It was a very, very nightmarish type experience trying to get that all balanced out. But as you can see, Beagle is MVP for this one, because Beagle actually held that lane by herself as far as the tankability part, because Thorns is doing the main damage obviously, but Beagle being able to take that much damage and survive while also taking damage from the poison clouds is insane. So I implore you, if you haven't to this point, you should show some love to your 3-star operators. They can come to your aid in the time of need, and they do a fantastic job when you need it most. Cruz is another great option, Spot being a great option for a healing defender. I often use him in IS2 because there will be times where I don't have a medic but I have a chance for a defender, so I go ahead and grab him right away. They're free in IS2, which is fantastic. They do a wonderful job. But with M88 done, it is time to move on to the JT8 stages. And I gotta say, you know, JT81, I don't know if I'm just getting that much better at the game, but this is probably the easiest stage I've ever done. So, you know, I just wanted to show it off real quick. This is how I cleared this one. This isn't me bragging, you know, it's just me showing you just how much better I've gotten. But, no, all jokes aside, I do love stages like this because, A, you know, you get free OP, but B, getting to show a little bit of a kind of a cinematic appeal to it and showing some of the story is really cool. But also, you know, seeing all these innocent civilians go down for some reason doesn't hurt me to watch. Probably because I'm tired of taking care of them and watching them run into wooden walls that I have to destroy to save them. You know, they brought me so much grief. I didn't mind seeing that. I was actually kind of thankful for that, and that sounds a bit morbid, but you know, they brought this on themselves. Okay, I don't know what to tell you. But moving on to JT82. So this one is a little rough. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. This one took me a few tries to do just because I had to try to get down some timings and really figure out how to get rid of Tallulah as fast as possible when she's walking from the stairs to that other section. So I came up with a strategy that I needed to use, because I tried using Amiya only with her S3 doing the pure damage to see just how much I could do when I just stall Tallulah as long as I can. Wasn't quite enough damage, so I realized that I'm going to need someone to do a lot of burst damage for the first half and then let Amiya do the second half of it. So as you can see, I'm trying to bait as long as I can and have Thorns destroy the drone as it passes by this top part, and then I'm going to use gravel, I'm going to use mud rock, I'm going to use everything that I have at my disposal to make sure that I keep Tallulah in this lane in particular. So I'm going to let her walk slightly into range so that I can make sure that Tequila gets the damage off. Then I'm going to drop gravel into Contabile, into Mudrock once Amiya is in range for that as well. So now that they're all attacking, they clean up Tallulah fairly quickly, and then all I have to worry about is getting rid of the last bit of people here. And I do have some options to deploy in case somebody does go down, because these guys are very tanky and they hit like a truck when they get below 50% HP, so you have to be very careful in that aspect. But I'm going to have gravel, and I'm going to have Tequila here just for a little extra damage if I need it, but Bagpipe is also going to solo the one on the left side, which I was very happy to see. That is a lot of damage coming out from Bagpipe, so worthy in my eyes. But another big accomplishment, my favorite accomplishment thus far, is a 200 trust Swire. She finally completely trusts me. No better feeling in the world. And of course I wanted her to be my first 200 trust, so we're going to work our way up with some others here in the future. But I have some that are fairly close, so it will be exciting to get to that point. One thing I did want to show is I'm doing the Maria Neural event because the Record Restored just became available in the last couple of days here, and so I can finally get the charity operator from it, which is Whislash, who just so happens to be an Instructor Knight. So I'm that much closer to being able to do my Instructor Knight runs along with my Swire Knight. Of course, Swire Knight is going to be one I focus on, but I really need the buff army to show her in her full glory. So we'll get to that at some point, hopefully. But one of the big ones that's going to be hard for me to do is get Palace. Palace is on the current banner that is going on, but I don't want to pull because obviously Text Alter is that important. So we're going to have to wait a bit on that, and maybe, you know, I'll pull her off banner. I am very good at pulling off banner, and of course her being a guard, there is a good chance that that happens. Also didn't destroy the gold turret up here. I'm not sure what that does. Maybe somebody can tell me in the comments, because I never took the opportunity to actually destroy one of those. Maybe get something really good, I don't know, but it wasn't necessary for this match in particular. I basically got everything accomplished with Gavialter on the right lane by herself, even though with the attack down, because she has the skill 2 active and that mini stun that drags, they are not able to just walk by her. So I was pretty safe when it came to that regard, and all I had to do now was just to tank this one with Cutter, who was taking quite a lot of damage, and then finish him off. And that one is done. So I'm going to go ahead and unlock Whislash here. And of course I will E2 her at some point, because I really like the way that she's set up, and also the E2 art is fantastic. If you know, you know. So in regards to Instructor Knights, I just want to say, if we do get a Swire Alter, I am going to try to mix her into the Instructor Knight package. I don't know what she'll be, but I would like it to be some type of range, because her being able to attack aerial units will really make everything complete, and I can use both Swires together to just do some crazy clears. It would be a lot of fun, but that's wishful thinking, of course. I'm sure they have no plans for a Swire Alter, but I will beg and plead as much as I need to until I get to that point. Lately also I've been doing a lot of IS-2 because I'm trying to get all of the rewards from it, because the LMD that I'm going to get is going to be fantastic. So I'm actually going to show you my very first completion of Big Sad Lock. I finally beat the bear, and from recommendation from some of the people that were watching in the Discord stream, I picked Schwarz as my support unit at the start of the run, just specifically for the bear, because I wanted to try to get him done and try to get this ending done so I can see exactly what happened. And I gotta say, Schwarz is absolutely fantastic. I had the attack speed relic, the coin operated. I don't think I had chivalry for this. Chivalry would have been much better, but I will take what I can get. And as you can see, I'm leaking a few of them. You don't have to worry about that. I was being wary of what I was going to do here. And realistically, I thought it was going to be a pretty fast clear, having Schwarz there to take out the bear, but he is honestly extremely tanky. I don't know what they thought when they made this one. They just wanted to bully people, I guess. If you really have to have the right lineup and the right set of artifacts to deal with this boss, especially the fact that I did get the artifact that stops him from healing, so without that it would have been a really tough fight, and I don't know if I would have been able to get it done. I think I still would have. I don't know how long he stays there, but as you can see, Schwarz doing 5,000 damage per attack while her skill is active, and still only just taking out little chunks is insane to see, and the stacking shield is insane in itself. But we do get it done. I use a Mia to get a little bit of help there just in case, and we do it with plenty to spare. Jay with his E2 on the side over there took out the right lane by himself. But this is one that I have been waiting for so long, and anybody that watches my videos knows that I've loved Gavialter for so long and have had to neglect her because I felt like she did her job at E1 with the skill 2, but you know what, it was finally time to get her to E2. So after all this time, I've been saving up all this week to try to get her there, and I've done a ton of IS2 runs and probably got about 400k LMD out of it in this last week. I've been doing a lot. So we finally got her. I love the artwork. The L2D artwork is fantastic. My very first one and I'm excited to show it off. And also, I didn't realize just how good her S3 actually is, because I've been in love with S2 for so long, I didn't think about using anything else, but I actually got to try it out. Not to mention that I wanted these juicy rewards from taking her to E2 because she does have an altar, so anytime that I can do that and get a little bit of the rewards back is going to be a very efficient way of doing things. So I'm going to try it out. I'm going to have to level up her skills because I need her to be a bit stronger. I would really like to M3 the third skill first, because the extra damage is going to be insane because of the attack speed, so overall the return is probably a lot better compared to leveling up the S2 first. Even though I love the S2 so much, the animation's fantastic, and being able to pull people off cliffs with it is an even better thing in itself. But I take her to level 40 on E2, and I will try to take her up a bit more later on, and I can't wait to see what she would look like with a module. That will be fantastic when they finally get to that point. I don't know how long it'll be, but I'm looking forward to it. So I'm going to show off what it looks like on this stage. No better stage than H71, because all of the enemies are going to come from one line. I want to show you just what that S3 is capable of. Especially being a Centurion, now that she's E2, she has the 3 block, so that makes it even better. I'm trying to stall as long as I can until the big enemies come out, so that I can actually use it when they're there. But things were starting to get a little hairy, so I decided to throw Mudrock behind, just so I can save the skill usage. But I'm going to go ahead and activate it here so I can show you, and just look how beautiful this skill is. Yes, I am doing this in 2x speed in here and in the editing, so it's faster here than it actually is, but it is insanely quick, and it does so much damage even without a mastery point in it. She is very much worth the upgrade, so if you haven't done it and you were neglecting her like I did, please give her the opportunity to show you what she can do. She is fantastic for holding lanes. And I do also want to say, if I'm starting to get a little more quiet or my voice is sounding a little different, I've been doing commentary on this video for quite a while now, and so it starts to get a little scratchy, a little worn out, just because I've been using it for so long. It tends to sound a little weak, so if you ever listen to my videos and you see it, it sounds a little different, that is the reason why. I don't have a hard time making this voice. This is, I mean, it's fairly close to my natural voice. I'm just trying to enunciate everything as much as possible. This is the only difference from what you'll hear from here to my normal, just casual voice. But it does get worn out doing these videos. I do put a lot of effort into the commentary and hope that people can understand what I'm doing, what I'm getting across. So, especially for these longer videos, it is a little rough. But another upgrade we're making is Susuro, and the reason being, Sus is going to be fantastic for the next stage I'm about to do. And I'm also going to stop using the lo-fi for this, because I'm going to talk with the background music coming from this next one. I want it to be the full experience for those who haven't seen it, so if you don't want to see the JT83, just basically to avoid spoilers, skip ahead to the 39-minute mark. So I'm not sure if I'm going to make a video explaining exactly how I did this. As a separate video, I might, but I may do some different clears just to show them, so I can show maybe some lower rarity clears for something like this. But I wanted to show this one and talk about it how I did it here. So what I did is I had 3 baiters for the pure damage that she puts out every 20 seconds, and this is going to go on the last 2 operators deployed. So anytime you do this, you're going to want to have 2 quick fast redeploys, preferably if you have Project Red and Gravel. Use those 2 because they're going to be off cooldown every single time that you get the option, but I do not have Project Red, so I had to use a 3rd baiter. So I will alternate between J and Cantabile as my other option. Gravel is obviously always going to be up in time, and that's one of the greatest things about it. She's going to allow you to not have to pay attention to the timing, counting down yourself. Just pay attention that every time she's off cooldown, drop her immediately in a spot she's not going to be attacked by Tallulah from, and she is going to take it, and then you immediately get rid of her, so you can start the next bit of timer. So the main thing I did for holding lanes was obviously Thorns and Saria. Thorns facing up, Saria at the top lane, Susura to the right of Saria, and she's going to get a little help from Saria herself in the healing aspect, make it a little easier there. And then I have Perfumer facing up, and I put Talopsis to the right of Perfumer facing towards Thorns and Perfumer to help there, because the less options that Perfumer or Cicero have to deal with in time is better overall. So Cicero is not going to have to worry about a Perfumer or Thorns as much and can make sure that when she needs that crucial heal timing on Thorns or Saria, she will have that option. So I do have basically 4 healers here. Not needed for Talopsis if you have a good healer as your defender. You can also probably use Spot for this, which I'll try to use whenever I do another run, but we'll see what he's capable of doing, because I know he's not going to be as tanky as Saria, even though she's only E1 right now. She's going to be a little bit tankier overall. But what I'm going to do now is, once Tallulah is moving up through this one, I'm going to make sure that I have Amiya down, the guard version of her that you get before you go into the stage, because she is a fantastic option with the first skill of baiting Tallulah long enough, because she can survive for so long with the way her skill works that, you know, you can basically take out Tallulah with her and Thorns in that position. If you don't have Thorns, you don't have somebody that's good for dealing that damage, perhaps you could use someone like Lapland, because it's going to hit in that direction, and if she gets her second skill active, which is more than likely going to happen during that timing, she's going to help guard Amiya enough to deal with Tallulah, and then you can swap to the Meteor Shower phase, and then make sure that what I did was I got rid of guard Amiya once I got to the Meteor Shower, just because of the fact that I don't want her to take some of the healing that I need for everyone else. So you can see Tallulah's going down pretty quickly, guard Amiya is doing quite a bit of work, Thorns is helping out quite a lot as well. Obviously, Lapland in that position can do something. You can always, in the one to the right of Sus, you can throw someone like Exia, if you have her, would be a fantastic option. Any type of good damage. Obviously, if you have Posey, Posey can do a massive amount to the boss there, so you're going to have plenty of options. Obviously, just use something that's going to give you a little extra damage, but what I did here to make sure that Thorns did not go down, which is actually surprising how much he's taking, considering I have 3 different healers over there. I ended up throwing Gravel there and then Jay after to take a little bit of the extra damage off of Thorns so that he can stay alive. Because Saria, as you can see up top, is doing just fine of staying up. She has her own heal built in that she's going to use to utilize a lot of that damage negation. So with that one being survived, I now have Gravel and Cantabile ready. I dropped them both because I don't know the exact timing of when she goes up to drop the pure damage on them again, so I waited. Now, as you can see, the T's are starting to light up on the side. There's going to be some things growing there, and what they do is they're going to explode and do a lot of damage to your operators. You have to make sure that you get rid of the ones that are going to hit your operators. Thorns is going to get rid of one of them, but I have Bagpipe and I have Jay or Cantabile to drop to get rid of the other ones. Now, I use Gavialter to make sure that I could buy enough time to get guard Amiya back, but you have other options that you can do for that. Somebody that is very tanky could be a good option. Make sure that your healers have enough in them to actually keep them alive. Obviously, Sus, I could activate her ability. I could activate Perfumer's ability to do a little bit of extra survival for them, but it wasn't necessary. Gavialter got the job done and baited long enough for her to get Tallulah out. So I'm going to drop Talopsis here, and I'm just going to go ahead and try to survive the next Meteor Shower just like I did last time. Activate all my healers' abilities that are up, and then I'm going to just bait with Jay and Gravel just to make sure that Thorns can stay alive and keep there holding that lane. I am going to have some options off cooldown pretty soon. In case Thorns did go down, Saria should survive, and then I could drop Cantabile as a quick option to hold the lane, or perhaps Gavialter would be another good option for that, because she is seriously capable of holding that lane by herself. But with that gone, that is the hard part out of the way. We're moving on to the end of this, and I'm not actually going to show the story. I'm not going to talk about the story in here. I know people are probably wanting that. I should have, but I'm saving it for another time. I might just do the standalone vid of showing the clear, talking about it, and then show the story after and talk about that as well. I think that would be a better option, and it fits more into everything else. But I will say that this story was absolutely amazing. I loved every aspect of it. Getting to learn everything that was going on with Tallulah, and the reasoning, the driving force behind what was going on was fantastic. And also, I did get the secret completed for that. I believe you have to beat Tallulah with Amiya, so it actually worked out in the end. It was a fantastic way to clear it. Getting the free OP and getting that extra bit of story was really cool. But we are closing in on the end of the video, and I'm just going to show you what my lineup looks like currently. So a couple big E2s here. I got Gabriel the Invincible to E2, my favorite one so far, Cutter to E2 as well, and I made some big upgrades to some of the operator skills with the mastery, so a lot of big improvements here. And yes, I know, I say it every time, just how good Cantabile is and how much I love using this unit, and she's still not E2. I know, I'm neglecting her, but do understand that it will come at some point. She does a fantastic job as she is now. That's why I've waited for so long. I haven't necessarily needed to take her up any further because she already does an amazing job just at E1. So I can hold off for a little bit on that, but I will get to that eventually. And with the next event coming up, I'll probably get a lot of LMD out of the shop, so potentially there is a chance there that I might be able to do that soon. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what I go with next. Defenders, took Saria to level 69, nice, but also I want to E2 her as well soon because she is a great option for healing. She has some fantastic healing. Blue Poison, obviously, my only E2 sniper. Hopefully that changes in a little bit. I'm looking at Shiryuki because I don't have an AoE sniper that I really want to use. Catapult is cool and all, but she's only a 3-star unit and her skill doesn't really do much. It just raises how much the AoE impact is, not the damage, which isn't the greatest thing out there, but she is a viable option at some point. Obviously, Mastima I talked about before, where I wanted to take her up to E2 as soon as possible, but she is very costly, so maybe I'll be able to save up enough in the next week or so to try to get her there. We'll see, but she would be one I would love to do because I just love the way she works, how her whole kit is set up. I know she's not the greatest, but I think she does a fantastic job, and I have to show her some love here at some point. But Click does need to go to E2. As I've said before, I really want a Chaincaster, so I do have the option of taking a 4-star and pudding to that extent, which would be great. But we'll see when I decide on that. But Sus was one that I took up for that last stage, as you see, because I know how good her healing is, and everybody's been talking to me, trying to get me to do it, and so she deserved it. And I do have a skin for her, which is fantastic. Great operator, I will say, and I'm going to start to use her a lot more, because Shining was in the position that I used for single target, but Shining just doesn't do enough right now without her E2 to be all that viable. There's a lot of situations where I would use her, but the defense block that she gets from the bubble is not insane. So we'll see what happens in the future with that as well. But I do also want to E2 Dorothy because I really love her playstyle, and I didn't get to use her a whole lot as of recently, but it's just because I had a squad that I had set up that was actually working really well for a lot of situations. I just decided we'll throw Dorothy in a little bit later, but just as a showcase of how much IS2 I have done recently, I am at level 122 currently, and I think I was at level 91 in the last week, and on average I get 2, maybe 3 levels per run, so that's quite a few runs that I've done in a week's time, along with juggling every other game and the progression of this account as well. So I'd say, you know, maybe in the next week I can get somewhere around 140 potentially if I keep going hard, but I know the events are stacking one on top of the other, which is a great thing, but it also takes a lot of my time away, so that one is going to be a bit of time. And of course IS3 coming up in the near future is going to be fantastic as well. But that is going to be it for me, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.